Hello, and welcome back to the Connection Compass podcast. I'm your host, Andrea Louise Evans. In this episode, I'm joined by Philip Elisa, a former computer scientist turned spiritual guide who now helps people reconnect with their inner compass and explore the wisdom of the Akashic Records. Together, we dive into what it really means to shed layers of conditioning, to release the beliefs and emotions that hold us back, and to begin trusting ourselves and life on a much deeper level. We explore those quiet but powerful inner nudges, the moments where something within asks, "What if I just stop?" and the knowing that follows, guiding you towards something more aligned, more true. We talk about being sustained by your own genius, the courage it takes to take a leap of faith, and how learning to listen to your heart and gut can become the foundation of real trust. We also touch upon discernment in a world of AI, reclaiming your own agency, and stepping fully into your soulful self without holding back. And in a deeply moving part of the conversation, I asked Philip a sensitive and important question through the Akashic Records, exploring why so many women feel a deep calling to motherhood that doesn't unfold in this lifetime. So, hello, Philip. Welcome to the Connection Compass podcast. It's so lovely that you're here. I'm really excited about our conversation. There's lots of energy already.
Yes.
So for our listeners, please could you explain who you are and a little bit about yourself?
I'm so excited too. Thank you so much for having you. I love what you're doing, and I love the name. I think when we spoke earlier, like I really love the connection compass, the name. It resonates a lot because I like to bring people to their inner compass. I really love, for the last 12 years, I have been collecting tools of personal development, emotional intelligence, and spiritual knowledge. And the more tools I seem to get, the more my compass seems to start working really.
Mm.
And it's really interesting to live a life guided by your inner feelings and inner compass instead of what the world is saying or what the mind is saying or what the ego is desiring. And yeah, that's what I'm been doing. And one of the latest things that I did was actually to stop my 9 to 5 programming job because my compass was in the opposite direction. It was draining my energy. I was like, oh my God, another week with 40 hours of being in a desk, looking at code that I'm not passionate about. It just felt not my path. And I stopped very abruptly. And now I'm actually I went through an emotional, quite a deep process of shedding layers and conditioning, and I started listening to my compass, somehow trusting, which was hard in certain moments. It was hard to trust, but somehow trusting that the universe got me. And what it turned out into is a new business where I help people with something called the Akashic Records to see why their soul is here on earth, to help them moving from their misaligned things. It might be a relationship, it might be a job, into a place where they feel completely connected with their soul. They know their next step and they are trusting that they can take that next step with clarity, with a community that supports them, with a sense of meaning and purpose that they might not have had before. And the end result of that is actually a life where you can completely decide your own time and are completely sustained by your own genius, by what you're here to do. Because life will really put the wind in your back when you start walking this path, even though it's scary at first. There's all these yeah, but in your mind, like, yeah, but this, yeah, but I need to pay the rent, yeah, but, and I had that a lot. But once you go past that, there's actually a very guided, beautiful, empowering path in store, I believe, for everyone. And I'm here to facilitate that path. I'm here to guide them on that. So, yeah.
I mean, it's an incredible story from programming to the Akashic Records. Can I take you back a bit to when you were in your programming role?
Yeah.
And you said you left very suddenly, but was there a process that led up to that, would you say? Was you aware of something changing, of something happening internally, or I suppose even how you perceived that world? I'm trying to think, was there like a deterioration in the feeling and the thoughts that you had about the work that you were doing, or how would you describe that time? Or did you honestly just wake up one morning and go, right, that's it?
It felt definitely like that. I was in a meeting actually. I was in one of my programming meetings, and the thought came up with, what if I just stop? That there was definitely a moment there,
Yeah.
but a couple things went before that. Like I knew I was in that job because a lot of people said to me like, dude, get financially stable. You have been trying all kinds of things and been traveling and without any money. And I was already very much in an adventurous state. And actually I was in that job to get myself a little bit more stability and an income and to buy my own apartment and to do kind of these things. But it was not my own decision. It was definitely my parents' advice, some friends' advice. It was not my decision. I knew that from the get-go, but I was like, let me just see if I can do this. But then also there was a lot of new development back then. AI became more present. It was, I think, 2022. ChatGPT got released, and I got excited about it. I kind of felt like, oh my God, I've been waiting for this moment that technology gets here. And my job said, oh no, we are not going to do that. Oh no, it's way too high of a security risk. And I was like, oh my God, that's so it felt like a part of me that really wanted to go into a certain direction was canceled. Also, I was part of a recruitment organization. Actually, the team where I was in was really nice. The team was really nice, but and the recruitment, some of the people in the recruitment company were also really nice, but there was already a couple times where I said like, "Hey, can there be some change? Hey, can you help me find other places to work that have more interesting companies?" Because I didn't like the topic I was working on, and they all the time said yes, but there was just no movement on their side too. So I was like, "Hey, a big part of my salary goes to this company, but this company is not bringing back the thing that I kind of pay as part of the salary in back to service." So there were frictions and things that I didn't agree with already, and they became stronger before I had the thought, I can just stop. But when I had that thought, I couldn't get it out of my head. I tried for a week, actually. I tried for a week. I told my partner, she got like, oh my God, what does he have in his head right now? And I was like, I'm going to try if I can get it out of my head. But
It's
I
very I
couldn't.
think if you have something like that, it's very difficult to explain to people, isn't it, why you have
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
It's just there, and
yeah,
you can't really ignore it, can you? It's hard for people to understand, but once you've got it, it's almost like you've been invited to step out of a box, and that offer won't go away. It's there, and so you take one step out of it, but then once you've taken a step out of it, you just can't get back in. I
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, once your mind is expanded beyond that box, it's so hard to get yourself back into that box. It's impossible. One of my teachers always says like the best plan has no justification. So that's what you also said. Like it's hard to explain. Sometimes the thing that you feel is in your highest has no justification,
Yeah,
right?
and it won't go away. There's nothing that you can do. It's
Right.
just there. It's almost like, I suppose, visualizing now, but it's almost like a rod, like a rod just
Hmm.
running through, like an iron bar, something that's unmovable.
Yeah, and it's scary. It takes a leap of faith to go for it.
Yeah.
But I believe when you follow it, you're always supported. Life supports you. It almost feels like a test sometimes, I have to say, like on a bigger level that that it's just like, hey, is he gonna choose that? Is she gonna choose that? Let me put it just in their field, see if they go for it or not. And I notice as well in my life, I have a lot of times I didn't go for such ideas, and I always regretted it afterwards. So it seems to be all the time when I have such an idea and I push it away and I say, not now, this is not responsible or whatever. A couple months later, I am regretting that I didn't go for it. While every time I went for it, it just came with such a new upgrade of life, more freedom, more more radiance also from within. I definitely felt like a very at my job, I just felt like completely drained. And now I have so much energy. I think maybe some people find it too much sometimes because it's constant. It's
Yeah.
consistent throughout the whole day, you know, like I'm as energetic now as I will be at 2 o'clock in the morning. And there's this always this inspiration energy flowing. I didn't have that. The creative flow was at the bare minimum.
So when you made that step, was there something about a shedding of the old you? Did you have to let go of certain parts? Did you have to think about yourself differently? Did you have any guilt or
Yeah, those came a couple months later, and I needed to realize that that was happening too. There was a lot of panic at one point. Yeah, like they came very strongly a couple months after I stopped. And when my savings started to get really low, I had so many thoughts of like, what have I done? I had a great job. Yes, it was not in my alignment, but I could just have asked to go part time instead of full time. Like, why did I have to stop all of it? Shall I go back to programming? I know it's not my passion, but at least I have the certificates and the university degree and all of that. Shall I go back? And then there was this other voice like, no, 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 go stay on your path, stay here. And but a lot of times I actually, yeah, there was a lot of panic, sometimes also helplessness. I felt very helpless, like, oh my, and useless. It was not nice. But those were exactly the emotions that needed shedding. So they came very strongly in my field, not because they were true, actually because they wanted to leave. And luckily, I had the Akashic Records. I really don't know if I would have been pulled through if it wasn't for my connection already and my years of practice that I had on the side with that field, because sometimes I could come in with all the panic and all the emotion. And I asked, what should I do? I want to go back. I don't want to feel this anymore. I'm done with it. And then they said, wait for 2 days. Everything will be all right. Like, I want to get out this. Everything will be all right. But all the time when they said, wait for 2 days or 3 days, it was true. 3 days later, some extra money came into my field that could pay for the next couple of bills. An opportunity came, inspiration came that I didn't have before. They didn't say why, but they always gave me the level of trust that I needed to pull through. And a big thing that also needed to shed was the two big beliefs that I had. Maybe because I grew up in the Netherlands, but I think it's very profound in the Western world, especially. Time equals money, and you have to work hard for money. These two beliefs were very strongly, and I remember the moments where they got out of me. Like when I realized, oh my God, I really strongly believe this. It was part of the reason of the panic too, because I know I was not working anymore. I know I wasn't spending time on any kind of job. I was just feeling emotions all day long. But these beliefs amplified it because, oh my God, you're not working hard, so there will not come any money. And you're not spending time right now into something valuable, so there's not coming any money. So I'm doomed. Kind of that energy of like, oh my God, I'm doomed. And I saw sometimes hobos on the street. I was like, man, maybe next month I'm going to sit with you. Of course, I was able to divert my thoughts, but these thoughts were there. And when I released these emotions, and that's one of the biggest things that I'm love to teach right now. When I released these emotions and realized that time is way more valuable than money, and time is one of the only limited resources that you have. So if you link time with money, you link money with a limited resource. So you will always stay capped. Like, yes, I can make, let's say, 5,000 a month with a programming job, if I want to make 10,000, I might need to work 80 hours instead of 40 hours if time equals money. But then that's not true, because there are people right now that make the 10,000 and they work only 2 hours a day, right? So there is something different going on there. And I was like, okay, let me go on a quest of what that is. Once I released the belief, I could see like, okay, this is not true. There must be something else here. And we can go into that if you want to, but
Yeah.
those were the things that were shedding. Like the beliefs were very
Yeah.
linked with money. The emotions were panic, helplessness, hopelessness. A lot of that needs to be released. In the end, all of it was also linked with how much are you trusting life? And it felt like all of the patterns, emotions, frequencies in my subconscious that were not trusting life needed to move out of me to walk the path that I'm currently walking. It was intense. It was definitely intense.
Not trusting in life is quite an interesting topic, isn't it? Because there are lots of reasons why we don't trust life. And I suppose it can, in the energetic world, in the energetic field, it's quite a big block, isn't it? Not trusting life. What would you say enabled you to find that trust in life?
Yeah, I have a couple of experiences in my life. I only want to teach from experience and not from other
Yeah.
things. And there were a couple of experiences in life before I got the trust that I have now that were already really beautiful. I one time started during COVID traveling without much money, without watching the news, just because some wise friend of mine, Marcus, he said, jump and your wings will appear. And I was like, I really want to jump. Let's go. And I booked a ticket to Malta, which is a very small island in Europe. And I just went there with maybe 200 euros in my account back then. I was just like, I have no clue how to live, but it will come. And what I started there were a couple of very pivotal moments in that trip that developed my trust. And for 2 years long, I only traveled based on my gut feeling, not on watching the news. Like the news was saying code red here, code orange there, don't go here. Like there was all this, but the news was also confused. I knew the news was also made with people that had no clue what was happening. I knew the politicians had no clue what was happening. I knew it. Like it was just a completely unique experience. Nobody really knew. But I know that we have in our body, like the compass knows where it is safe and where it is dangerous. Our body can look into the future. And I knew that because there was, I think in 2005 or maybe earlier, there was a big tsunami that hit Thailand. And I later heard that the amount of dead wild animals that were found was zero. There were no dead animals found. The only dead animals that were found were domestic and couldn't escape. And I'm very sorry for that. But there were no wild animals. They were all long gone before that tsunami hit, even though it was a very rich ecosystem full of wildlife. So when learned that, I was like, hey, but we still have also our animal part. Yes, we are human. Yes, we have a prefrontal cortex, but we still have a lot of faculties that made all the monkeys and all the birds and all the mammals and all the reptiles that were in that area all move away. So why don't I listen to that during COVID than the news or the mind or things like that? And the crazy thing was, in the 2 years that I traveled, I was at beautiful places. All restaurants have always been open for me. I have never experienced a lockdown. I was always in the right place at the right time. And sometimes I had the feeling that the universe just, the Google Street View
Yeah.
guy, when you're on the computer and you can just have this orange yellow puppet that you can just
Yeah.
put on the street and it goes there. I felt like the universe was doing that to me. Like, oh, no, you have to go to Mallorca right now. Bloop. Oh, now you have to go to Turkey. Bloop. Oh, it's time for Lisbon in Portugal. Bloop. And all the time it was safe. All the time everything was open. I was like, this is crazy, but it developed my trust a lot.
Is that, would you say that is trust in yourself or in life or both?
Yeah, so the ingredients to that were, for people that would love to trust, is take a leap of faith,
Mm,
listen more to the heart and the gut than to the mind,
mm,
and let it prove you right. And the more you are stacking up these proofs, the more trust will happen.
Yeah.
I'm also with teaching the Akashic Records. Like for me, it took me 2 years to trust that the information was valid. And my students have the same thing. Like, how do you trust? How do you know that this is really coming from that part? I said, like, I most of the time say, make a list of all the times where it couldn't have been your mind. And I'm very sure that within half a year time, there are more than 50 things on that list that you just simply couldn't have known, but happened in your life. And once that list becomes big enough, you're like, yeah, I know the news says this, but my last 5 years, I have 200 examples why life is actually can be completely trusted and is way safer than most people think. Once that evidence list of your experience becomes bigger than the outside noise, I think where the stability is. You might fake it until you make it, but it really happens actually when there is a set of you really seeing it that it happens. So I think you need to be open, take a leap, can be a small leap, but take a leap out of the comfort zone. Notice that it's actually trustable, and then that makes you probably interested in a bigger leap. Again, see that it's actually quite trustable that you did that, and then you just continue, continue, continue. So with the experience that I had of the travel, it was easier for me to take the leap in the career path. 100%. I don't know if I would have done it so with so much like
With this, being able to listen to the inner compass, is it really important for you to get quiet and to access that information? And so I suppose knowing that or having that, how do you feel about the tech world now? How we interact through tech and the volume of noise that's out there and things like AI.
I personally love what is happening, but every disruptive technology has a very good positive side and a negative side, and a lot of people being fearful about it. I know that AI is going to change our consciousness in great ways for most, and in heartbreaking ways for some. So what I really say to everyone is learn how to discern. Is as in learn learn how to see what is a real video and what is a fake video. Learn how to see what is an AI generated text, and you can feel it. You can feel it. It just like I did a video a couple months ago where I just put AI generated teachers, personal development teachers like Joe Dispenza, and a real I put a real excerpt on it of him and a fake excerpt of him, and I just did a quiz. Which one do you think is real? Without them showing it, just letting them hear the voice. You can hear it. There's just more life in human voices than in AI generated voices, even if they are very realistic.
This is really interesting because I tell you why. Yesterday,
Mhm.
I don't know what I was doing, but something popped up on the, when you're just scrolling, and it was an advert for a dental practice, and it was very clinical, very clean,
Mm.
and oh, and at first I was a bit like, oh, that's really techie thing, and then I was like, but there's no human life there. I was thinking, I think this is a AI generated image,
Right.
an AI generated video. And one of the things that really stood out for me is if you've ever done a live like online or you've done a video and you listen to yourself talk, even probably when I look back and watch this video and do the editing, you'll be able to hear yourself taking a breath in between words and sentences and pausing. And there was just none of that at all. There was no breath sounds. and the image was speaking array, and I was like, "Oh, that's an AI generated image. Why do we want AI generated images in places of care?"
Yeah, and you will feel, I think, a level of emptiness if you feel with your whole body into the
Yes.
video. Like the mind, it might be entertaining for the mind. But
Yeah.
when you with your full body listen to it, there is an emptiness there that
Yes.
we should not want as humanity. And there are a couple of amazing conversation happening on this front because there is a dark side towards this. People like a couple things I would really love to say for everyone who is currently using AI is, like I said, learn to discern. Make sure you use AI as a tool, not as a friend or a therapist. Because AI, like, I'm a computer scientist. Like I know how it is built from the ground up. It it is constantly wanting and creating the best response for you. But that doesn't have to be a truthful response. So if you're like, hey, shall I wear this or that? Or hey, shall I say this to, I don't know, to my parents or not? It will constantly give you the most affirming option, kind of. But the most affirming option is not always the right option, right? Like if I have a good friend and I say to my good friend, like, oh my God, I have seen the light. I have the feeling I need to drink 2 liters of vodka every day and I will be completely connected with life. A friend will be like, dude, that makes no sense. Please get that idea out of your head right now. But AI will be, wow, interesting thought. That is a great idea actually. That might be worth experimenting with. It tries to affirm you,
Yes.
even if you start to say things that are really not common sense, and that is a danger. So I would really love to let people distance themselves a little bit because the affirming creates a lot of connection, right? If there's just
Yeah.
somebody that's always saying yes and good job and you go for
Yeah.
it, and it is maybe creating a lot of connection, but it will not give you a truthful response when you need it because it will only give you an affirming response. So sometimes you need more critical thought. That is dangerous, and I think people need to hear that. And finally, I think the noise that AI generated content creates makes people overwhelmed at first, but points to at one point when they cannot go outside anymore because everything is overwhelming, the only thing they can resort back into is inside of themselves. And I believe that that is where the true answers lie.
It's this is why our inner compass is so important, isn't it? We always hold agency for ourselves, that the power is within us and it's not within anything that's external to us.
Yeah. And for some that don't for some that don't have a practice right now that takes them back in on a daily basis, the world will just get too chaotic, so they have to.
Mm.
Ideally, they do that before they have to,
Yeah.
because once you have a practice of looking within, of observing yourself, some kind of yoga or meditation form where you can truly feel your inner body and feel the peace and the love that every human is completely surrounded with. Once that becomes your default, then the world is not chaotic anymore. The world becomes an absolute bliss to be in. And I wish I could just give that. Wish I just give, like, hey, hold this little pyramid and you will feel blissful. But unfortunately, it takes a little bit of practice, and
It
it
takes
takes
practice,
looking in. It takes looking
and
in,
time.
but
Mhm.
the end result of it is very stable, blissful, peaceful living,
Yes.
which is what I think the world really needs right now.
Yeah, absolutely with you.
Yeah.
So let's go a bit deeper.
Let's go deeper.
You talked about the Akashic Records. Don't think we've had a conversation about the Akashic Records on the podcast before.
Oh, I'm happy.
I know what they are, but could you explain a little bit more about them for people who are listening? And then we'll talk a little bit about how you found them.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I think Akashic is also a very weird word. I didn't know what it meant when I heard it the first time, but Akashic comes from Sanskrit akasha, which means blue sky or ether or space. So in ancient India and still in Ayurveda and in yoga, the akasha is seen as the fifth element next to fire, water, air, and earth. So it's kind of the ethereal element. It's a space between the planets, between the Earth and the Moon, and between the Earth and the Sun. There is space. That space is called ethereal or ether, but it's also in our atoms. When you zoom into our atoms, there's still 99% ether. And first they thought it was empty space, but science has now reconcluded it is actually not empty. It's full of energy and it's full of something called ether.
Mm.
So that's just an Indian Sanskrit word for ether. Inside the ether, there's a lot happening. We, as humans, with our five senses, are only tuned to a very small spectrum of light and a very small spectrum of sound. Like, for example, this conversation it has probably come to you through the ether, some kind of Wi-Fi signal. Maybe it even gone through a couple of satellites, right? At the moment there are I don't know how many radio signals running through us, and bank transactions running through us, and
Yeah.
Netflix streams running through us. That's all happening in the ether. In that same way, human life and human consciousness is not the only consciousness there is. There is a whole bandwidth of consciousness. And the Akashic Records is one place in that bandwidth that is not on Earth, but that is kind of its purpose is to record the universe. It's to record it. It's like a big database or a big library, but that's all human metaphors for something that is really hard to explain because it's in a completely different dimension, right? I don't even know how an 8-dimensional cube looks like, so let alone an 8-dimensional library. I have no clue. It's just it's hard to put into words, and therefore sometimes we need to use metaphors to get a picture on it. But you can see it as a universal library, and in that library there are books that are open to everyone, and there's also a private section, and that's where the personal books are. So every human, actually every soul, has their own Akashic record, and your current incarnation is recorded in there. But every time your soul incarnated and every time your soul transitioned back and came back, and like all of that is recorded. So that is already a huge, only your personal Akashic record is already a huge area to explore, because this is not just your life. This is the time you were conceived as a vibration, as a universal light vibration, and then you as a light vibration went into a planet and back out and in and back out and in and back out to learn, to evolve, to expand your consciousness. And that is all recorded in the record. So therefore it is also known to be doing a lot of past life work, because it's just very easy for the Akashic records to show you which past lives you had, and also to show you what you came here to do before, or why you chose to be on Earth. I got big epiphanies when I asked, why did I choose my family? Why did I grow up in the Netherlands, even though it doesn't feel like my home? But every time I asked such a question, they came with such a higher perspective that I was like, oh my God, I'm so grateful I have my parents. But before I asked that question, I was like, they're not at all into spirituality. They're not at all in personal development. They just like to drink beer and watch the news. And I'm like the opposite. Like, why am I born in that family? And then they gave me a perspective that was just like mind blowingly beautiful. And since then, I'm so grateful for my parents. So they can really, they come from such a higher perspective. And with they, I mean the beings that work in the Akashic Records. When you start to practice, you get connected to beings on that side. They are called Akashic Record keepers. And you can ask them a question, and they go into the records and give you the best, most sufficient answer back. And everyone is very different. Some received very visual, some I started just with word for word. writing it. Then I started typing, and then I asked them to do it through my voice, and they trained me how to do it through voice. So now I can directly channel them through voice, but that's not how it started. But for me, it's very feeling based and very word for word. Some just go on a complete visual journey, others have knowing. There are students of mine that are just feeling heightened emotion in the practice itself, but then the rest of the day gives them the answers very clearly of what they asked to the records. So there's many different ways how people receive it.
Yeah.
But basically the practice is tuning yourself to a vibration, to a field of information higher than Earth's vibration, and then learning how to ask questions and learning how they talk back to you to download answers back onto the Earth plane. And the answers most of the time are mind blowing.
Mm. And how did you stumble upon the Akashics, or how did they come to you? How did you first connect with them or recognize them? And
Yeah, the first like I was dating a girl. We don't have contact anymore. I wish I had her contact because I want to say thank you. She changed my life 100%. We only dated for a week, but she got very sick and I didn't have a lot of money back then. So I needed to go back home. We were supposed to travel and stay in Bayern in Germany. But she got sick in that week and she needed to go back to her mom, and there was only one hotel in the area. I couldn't stay with her mom, and the hotel was super expensive, like 250 a night. So my money just started to like evaporating, right? And eventually, but in that week, she gave me a book and she just said, "I think this is interesting to you." She gave me that book and I opened the first page and it was incredibly highly vibrational. Maybe I have the book here. I have the book somewhere here because I bought it again. But that was my familiarity with it, and then a half a year later, I was again traveling with my now partner, and it was New Year's, and I said, "Shall we start a practice this year? Shall we start something?" And actually, the Akashic Records came up. It's like, "Hey, I somebody told me this. Shall we start this?" And she really liked it. Another friend of ours that was in our community really liked it. So we started together. And next to the book that I ordered, I bought a course online. And a couple months later, I got invited to a practice group with people. One person was already 20 years doing Akashic record reading, the other one 5 years, the other one 2 years. So, and I was like really like a rookie, just started a couple months in, but I learned so much from them. And I saw like, what does this practice do when you're 20 years working with this field? And she was incredible. Like she was really cleansing and clearing temples, and she was completely guided by the records, but sometimes the records just say like, "Hey, go to this temple in Egypt, it needs your help." And then she just knows needs to go to Egypt, or "Hey, go to Turkey," right? Go to Turkey, Istanbul needs your help, and she needs to go to Istanbul. She was completely in a very beautiful mission work. And all of that made me hooked. So first it was the girl that I was dating, then I started it again. And then I couldn't stop because after a couple weeks of practice, the information started flowing and I was just amazed. It was better than any book that I read. Right. So I was like, what is coming true? So yeah, that's really how it all started.
that's amazing. And so you asked me if we wanted to open the Akashic Records online, and I thought about it and I said no, but I did want to ask a question. And it was quite a big question. And it's for me, I have some up and coming guests where we're going to be talking about fertility, and it's a particular difficult topic for me. And so I wanted to start to move towards getting more comfortable about talking about the subject. Why are there so many women living on Earth at the moment who came to Earth knowing in their hearts that they wanted to be mothers but didn't get to be mothers?
Yeah. Beautiful question, right? That's a perfect question to ask to the records. So I opened the records of Mother Earth actually to ask this question. So not my personal ones, but the ones of Mother Earth. Do you want me to go through the answer that I got
Yes,
from
please.
them?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's perfect. I actually, if I have it here in front of me, I can, if you want, I can do this, and we can just read along.
Oh, wow.
So this is what I got. It's probably full of typos and things because the information moved fast. But let's just go and stop me wherever you want to chop in, right?
Yeah.
So this is what I got. Dear one, this is a great question, and we are honored to share a higher perspective on this topic. Through human eyes, this can be a heartbreaking phenomenon that might create hurtful conclusions on life and on earth. But this is not what it is meant to teach. These many women came to earth to be a mother, but being a mother in energy. The earth is rebirthing itself, and the mother energy is more needed than ever.
Philip, can we just go through what does it mean when the earth is rebirthing itself?
Yeah, they go a little bit later,
Oh,
more in that, but yeah, we can go. Like, I think what they mean here is the way of what is currently happening is there's a lot of things become very obvious to humanity that have been running for hundreds of years, but that just simply are not working, including our governments, including borders, including many of the things that are currently being seen in the collective consciousness. They're not necessarily coming up because it is truly happening. They're
yeah.
coming up because humans need to see it. There's just a lot of dark stuff that is coming to the light. And in that process, we are rebirthing, as in, we are removing the gunk out of the
Oh,
system, and what is left is a new humanity. Once that is completed, what is happening is a new humanity, but it's a very vulnerable new humanity. At the beginning, it is completely in the unknown. It's like a baby in a way, like, oh my God,
mm,
what is a world without racism and equality and war? And what is a world like? Like we might not know what is a world without the current political structures, and what is a world without money that is constantly being printed. We might be in a new state of being. So
mhm.
in that sense, a new birth, a new state of being where we simply haven't been yet as a humanity before. So once that happens on a collective consciousness, I think what they mean here is once a lot of people start shedding and a lot of people start to move into this new thing, there also needs to be energy that mothers that progress. Okay, shall we continue?
Yeah, continue.
Let's go. So the first change that these women can make to ease their life is to change their perspective of what it means to be a mother. Is it only birthing a child, or is it caring for a newborn? Or might the definition be way bigger than that? Because if it's just about birthing, there is a limited perspective in place. The bigger perspective that we see is to nurture the energy of the newborn so that it can thrive in life. And the newborn energy is huge on your planet. Your world will look very different in 30 years from now than it is today. These women came to Earth to care deeply, to nourish and nurture deeply, to put their hearts into action to assist in this big transition. Let them unbind the constraints of biological motherhood and let them step into energetical motherhood. They have been mothers many times before, but in this life, it is not about their own biological offspring, it is caring for the children of the world, for the inventions of your collective consciousness, and for meeting the shock wave of change with a deep, nourishing wave of motherly love. When the perspective shift has taken place, life will ease up and the higher purpose will come online. And I remember when I was channeling this, it felt like as soon as they detach from that possibility, and they, or not detach is not the right word, but as soon as they accept that like, okay, it might not be biological motherhood.
Mhm.
Maybe my mother energy can go into different places. As soon as that shift is truly made and there's no hard feelings anymore about the topic, it feels like then what they truly came here to mother will come into
Yeah.
their field. So it's, I think, already quite a beautiful perspective to say, like, hey, you're still here to be a mother, not just be your own genetical
Mhm.
creature that comes out of your womb.
Yeah.
It might be more energetical love that comes out of your being that is here to carry things forward, right? So life will ease up and a higher purpose will come online. This can mean many things based on their design. Some will use mother energy inside cities, governments, and organizations. Others will use the mother energy to bring new inventions into the world that serve humanity. Others will build community and ripple their motherly love into many different social circles. Their wish of being a mother needs to become online, and that can best be done in the broadest sense of the world. Maybe that was words, but
Mm.
things go fast. Maybe it's double. This transcends the separation consciousness that has haunted men for the millennia.
Yeah, so what does this mean? What does this bit mean? That transcends the separation consciousness that
Yeah.
has haunted men for millennia.
So I think we should include the next sentence and then
All
talk
right,
about it.
okay,
So
yeah.
they have been born to move from feeling a separate mother that wants to take care of her biological children, and they move into an interconnected mother that takes care of she, that's not what she is here to take care of. So what that means is, I believe, if you are in the illusion of your physical senses, you have the feeling you are a being separated from the rest of the world.
Okay,
And your family is separated from other families, let's say. Like,
yeah.
okay, this is my family and that is your family, and that is your
Mhm.
family. On another perspective, we are all part of the sea, like just like the waves inside of a sea. If you have the waves inside of a sea, I don't know what waves are thinking, but it would be very weird if one wave of the sea says to the other wave, like, "Hey, that's not my family of waves. I don't like that other wave." Or at least from our perspective, the sea knows very clearly it's interconnected,
Mm.
a huge body of water, and the waves are just the surface level fluctuations that is going on, but actually everything is on a deeper level connected. In that same way, we can think that we are individuated fluctuations, individuated humans, or we can think our humanness is just a small surface level ripple of a way deeper sea of consciousness. And in this case, it might be human consciousness, but even human consciousness is just a ripple of all the consciousness in the universe. So we might at one point come into connection with extraterrestrial beings. It really depends on where our consciousness is at. Do we feel they are part of the same sea as us, or are they different? Are they separated from us, let's say? And that is an inner journey that everyone, I think, eventually will take one lifetime or another, where they move into feeling they are one to feeling they are part of the whole.
Mm.
And many things are unexplainable when you think you're separated. Like after I was channeling this, I was making some cacao for myself for before this podcast, and I just thought of my own mother, and I was like, "Let me call her." And I called her, and she picks up and she says, "Perfect timing." And I was like, "What is perfect timing?" And she said, "Look," and she was with her mother and with
Ah.
my brother, and they were together, and they're like, "We just sat down to
Mm.
drink a warm chocolate," and I was making chocolate, and they were drinking chocolate there. And I said, "I just felt like I wanted to call you." And it was like, and you probably have such moments, or you
Yeah,
are
definitely.
thinking of somebody and they're
Mm.
checking in, or like all of that shows already the glimpses of what it means to be interconnected. It can go way deeper if you want to develop that. Yeah, I think it's a nicer perspective to have to really feel like, okay, we are part of the same sea. We are different waves, just doing our dance, doing our
Yeah.
waves, but we're part of the same sea. So yeah, that I think is also part of this new world that is being born. I don't know if that makes sense. It might be a little bit abstract, but I hope I'm
Yeah, no, it's good. Yeah, was there a bit more? Was there?
yes.
Yeah.
There's a little bit more. We're almost at the end of it. So, the earth needs mothers that live in the perspective of unity consciousness. Mothers that see themselves one with life and one with spirit. And when they do, their mother energy will come to full use. If a woman with this motherly wish listens to this transmission right now, we want to speak to her and say, your purpose is bigger than just bearing biological children. Your energy is here to mother the energy of the world. Go deep inside, find moments of stillness, and dive into your motherly heart. When you feel relaxed and the energy around you becomes like waves of the oceans of love, it is time to ask a question. Ask, where does my motherly love serves best right now? Or, what in my life slash field of awareness slash network needs motherly love right now? Let the answers come to you in their own time. It will brighten your outlook on life. Because your true gift that you are here to give in this world should not be tainted by irritation and frustration of what should have been. It needs to be powered by what is and what wants to come true. This way, you will become a mother of the new earth, bearer of a new consciousness, nurturer of a newborn human consciousness that have shed all the layers of its dark past. May you rise, dear mothers. It is time. You have suffered enough. It is time to rise. That was it.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. I think it was a really interesting read. I think as some of it, I wasn't surprised
Mm,
by those words, but
mhm,
when those words meet us, it will meet us in a place where we are and we're either ready to receive them or
mhm.
maybe they need to sit and it's like the words say, let them settle and sit with you. And
Yeah.
I think sometimes the meaning comes to us in ways that we don't expect because I think it will find for me it's quite I quite hold my hands up and say I'm full of irritation and anger like, about the situation. But I know that coming forward with that anger and irritation isn't helpful, but by sitting with those words and letting them settle and think about them a little bit differently, those words end up with meaning something to us far more than how they land. And that somehow there's a meaning for us that makes everything okay.
Yeah. And I feel at the same time, sometimes, like I really like this last part of it where they truly say like, hey, where does your motherly love serves best right now? Like the energy of a mother is one of the most beautiful and powerful energies that someone can carry, in my opinion. For example, you are making this amazing podcast. Your energy shines beautifully through in this podcast, and this will reach people, and that energy will then continue that energy will continue, and you might meet a couple people years from now that will be like, oh my god, thank you for that episode, and thank you for
Yeah.
this. It truly gave me a love that I didn't felt in my own life, right? So you don't even know most of the time which energy you are, how you are helping people, especially in this digital world. You just broadcast something, you don't know how the impact is gonna be. But by everyone that feels that mother energy, to let them use it, to let them not stopped by the there needs to be a child in my arm right now for me to be a mother, but to just say I'm a mother anyway, and I'm
Mhm.
gonna transmit this energy. I'm going to transmit my care. I'm going to transmit my love. I'm going to find places and listen to my inner being where this energy needs to flow, and I'm going to flow it in that way. And it might even be part of a community building where mothers that like mother energies that have not have become biological mothers come together, start empowering each other, and start helping each other and dealing with the emotions, and at the same time letting their mother energy not go to waste or dumb down, but actually see it as an opportunity to just shine in every direction, and
Yeah.
just shine to the couple children that you might uh, have been able to receive or not. So yeah, it's the message feels very universal, and I think it's very needed. So I love the
Yeah.
topic. I love the topic, and
Uh,
I'm
yeah,
really
you were saying that quite a few people have been asking you about it, or the
yeah,
topic's been coming online quite a lot. And
yeah.
I know that it was discussed in the Diary of a CEO, Stephen Bartlett's podcast,
Mm,
but I don't think it was given the gentleness and the depth and care that it probably deserves, and
right.
which is why I wanted that to ask the question,
Oh,
and particularly ask a man as well, to show that this can be this topic can be braced really sensitively
yeah,
through men and through women and that there's more to it than a very surface level answer. So I think in the Diary of a CEO podcast, it's very much women choosing to, and it's the choices, but actually I think there's far more to it than that,
right.
and
I didn't see the podcast, but and then I don't know what was their answer, but I have the feeling this is way more like talking to the energy of it, and because more generally speaking, every person comes to this world with a certain, I don't know how to call it. It might be called a disposition, or it might be called a frequency that they carry inside of them. And uh, that can be the mother energy. That can be the inventor. That can be the scientific genius. That can be the language wizard. That can be, it can be so many different things. And I really believe that the coming time, including where we talked about earlier with AI, it gives us the potential to not hold back these energies anymore, to allow ourselves to come back to what we always have known, both as a child and as a young adult, and to let these energies come back online, no matter what your age is right now. I have many people that actually are in retirement in my community, but they have so much energy and life. They want to serve in another way than they have been serving. And what is so beautiful to see there is that a lot of people actually come back to what they always have known. But because of the world, because of the parents, because of the advice, because of the educational system, whatever the constraints might have been, they have been pushed into a job that was just functionally correct, but not soulfully correct. And I believe this time, including the ability that AI gives us, but also the level of consciousness that we're currently at, we are able to truly step into the soulful you that already has the frequencies, and we should not be bound anymore by the external world. So, if the external world doesn't show that you have children, it doesn't mean that you cannot use your mother energy. If the external world shows no money, it doesn't mean you can already create something and be in an abundant state when you're creating. Doesn't mean that you can already be resourceful, let's say, and just do the creation anyway. There is this there is this thing that I really wanna, and I had a brilliant conversation with it with somebody yesterday. There is this let's go energy that I feel very strongly in me of like, you're a genius. Let's go. Let's listen to that and take steps into that every day. Let's not hold back anymore. It will become only more painful to hold your own genius back. Like it feels like the energy of today and tomorrow will pull it out. And if that's if your genius has mother energy, it will bring it to the surface. If your genius is invention, if your genius is art, if your genius is singing, if your genius is podcasting and having great conversations, whatever it is, you will be confronted with it until you step into it. I really would love to let everyone that listens to this and everyone that I meet to feel that it's time for them. And I would love to be an invitation for everyone to just say, your genius is so unique, is so beautiful, is so gorgeous. I don't care what your mind says. I don't care. Like, you might say to yourself, you're not enough. You might say to yourself, the world is not waiting for it. You might say to yourself, I'm fearful of the judgments that I get or whatever. But let that move away from your consciousness. You're meant to shine. You're meant to blossom. You're here for a reason. You're still in 2026 alive for a reason. People that were not supposed to be here on Earth have left the planet already.
Oh.
So I really believe it's time, and I hope to be a facilitator in that in whichever way I can, tools that I have.
So just before we go, what's next for you? What's in the pipeline? What are you working on at the moment?
I have a whole lot of inspiration. I actually am thinking to open 2 more YouTube channels. I
Yeah.
already have one where I share a lot of Akashic Records wisdom. I want to open one more where I completely focus on how to start a business from spiritual wisdom, or how to transform your business from a mental business to a soulful business. I'm very lately, I want to create money freedom, and I believe, like, some people think entrepreneurship is unstable. I have the feeling the work life and the corporate life is way more unstable right now than the entrepreneurship. So I think better switch and better be guided by it than just figuring it out mentally. So that's one channel that I want to set up. I want to make a community for people that want to learn the Akashic Records so that we can practice together and we can open each other's records. I already have that. I want to make it bigger, and that will happen in February. I don't know when it goes live, but if you see this after or listen to this after February, I will have it set up, and and everyone that wants to tap into the field of the Akashic Records can very easily access it and tap into it. And I recently really start loving the platform I'm hosting my current community on, which is school. And I want to contribute back to that platform by making tutorials and to kind of just recording what I'm learning so that somebody can find it easier than how I found it. So I want to make that journey easier too, so people can start their own communities there. So I want to have 3 YouTube channels. I want to have 3 school communities. And later this year, I'm going to do a lot of physical events and retreats too, especially in the south of Spain. So if you want to experience a couple days to a week in the beautiful energies of the records and really map out your life and connect with beautiful humans, that will be happening soon. So I'm working on a lot right now.
Yeah, you are, and, I'd love you to come back on the podcast again at some point. That would
I
be
would
really
love to.
good. I'd
I would love.
really love to have a conversation with you and Ashley.
Yeah.
So we'll have a Scorpio rising, a Scorpio moon, and a Scorpio sun having a
Oh,
conversation together. I think that'd be pretty cool.
we will go deep. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
we'll go deep between us.
It
Yeah, I
will be
think
a
that would be really good.
transformative conversation.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for this wonderful conversation today. I've just absolutely loved it. And yeah, I can't wait to put it out there. Thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. I loved it, and let's have more of those.
That was an incredible episode. I really enjoyed the conversation with Philip. It was deep and meaningful and approached a really difficult topic with sensitivity, which I feel is needed more in the world. It was certainly an episode as an invitation to trust more, and it's really made me think about my own trust, the trust in myself, the trust in life, the trust in others, and how important it is to listen deeper to ourselves and remember and never lose sight that there's power that already lives inside of us to use for the betterment of good, not just for ourselves, but for others and around us as well. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of The Connection Compass. If you feel this episode will be useful to somebody else, please leave a review. And remember to keep talking, keep connecting for a more interconnected world.